Hi, welcome to Give Me the Bible, where God's Word speaks for itself. In the last video, we talked about how the parables really served to weed out and separate the people who were not interested in the gospel at all from those who were. It sought to basically cut off from the kingdom of heaven and hide the truth about the kingdom of heaven from people who really had hard hearts and were too prideful and were already set in their beliefs and weren't going to change them. It cut them off from the kingdom of heaven, whereas it allowed the people who were humble and had the right hearts to actually learn deep spiritual truths about the kingdom of heaven. They were able to learn the deep mysteries that Jesus was trying to reveal to them about the kingdom of heaven through the parables. And in fact, Jesus makes an interesting statement in Matthew 13. Matthew 13, in verse 10, his disciples actually ask him, "Why do you speak to them in parables?" And Jesus makes a strange comment. At least it seems strange at first. In verse 11, Jesus answered them, "To you it has been granted to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it has not been granted." So Jesus says to his disciples, to you it has been granted to know these mysteries that I'm trying to reveal, but to other people it's not been granted to. And so my question for this video is simply, has it been granted to you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven? Now, when I ask that question, I'm not talking about some Calvinistic concept that's just not biblical, that God has somehow selected certain people to be saved and certain people he's selected to go to hell. That is favoritism, right? That's partiality. God shows no favoritism or partiality in that sense. God desires all men to be saved and to come to the knowledge of the truth. And so when I ask you, has it been granted to you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, what I'm really asking is, do you have the kind of heart that when you read a parable of Jesus Christ, or really when you read anything in the Bible, a heart that's willing to be humble and to think and to learn from Jesus, to learn from God the spiritual lessons that he's trying to teach you? Is that the kind of heart that you have? Because it is only to the people with that kind of heart, the humble heart, the loving heart, the heart that is repentant. It is only to people with that kind of heart that the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven will be granted to, because they're the only ones who will be willing to understand and to try to work through and learn on a deeper level about the kingdom of heaven. But to those with the prideful heart who don't really care about God and aren't really interested in what Jesus has to say, well, they're not going to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven because they're not going to work through the parables to try to understand the mysteries that Jesus is revealing through those parables. And think about it. That's what this context is all about, isn't it? In Matthew 13, even before he makes that statement, he tells the parable of the sower about the fact that there are people in this world with different hearts, and they react to the gospel differently based on the kind of heart that they have. This is not about some predetermined selection by God of some people to be saved and some people to be lost. It's about the fact that some people just aren't willing to obey God and just aren't willing to listen to God. Jesus says in Matthew 13, verse 9, "He who has ears, let him hear." Well, he's not just talking about physically. I'm pretty sure everybody he was talking to had ears physically. But what he's saying is, he who is willing to listen, if you truly have ears and you're willing to listen, then listen. And listen carefully and seek to understand. Is that you? Are you that kind of person? Have the mysteries of the kingdom been granted to you? And that's a decision that I want you to make in your own life. And I've got to make that decision in my life. And I want to leave you with that as we close our discussion about the parables. Are you a person who, like the disciples, will come to Jesus humbly and seek to understand the mysteries of the kingdom, or are you a prideful person who refuses to listen to what Christ says? no matter what he says or does. I sure hope that that's helpful. Thank you so much for your interest in spiritual things, and Lord willing, I'll see you next time.